Thank you guys so much for being here. We really appreciate this. And thank you for sharing this incredible film with us. Congratulations. It is, for a debut film, feature film, it is so impressive. So we're very honored to have the LA premiere. And I'm sure the audience will have questions. So while you're thinking about those questions, I just wanted to kick it off by asking a few of my own. First, Charlie, I understand the film is partly based on some personal experiences, and I was hoping you could talk a little bit about that, like what informed and inspired the story?
Yeah, I mean, so I had made a short film in like a similar setting when I was in film school. It's called Sauna, at a water polo camp, but I hadn't wanted to adapt it into a feature because I didn't feel like I had a story that could sort of sustain the length. And that's sort of, when I was, sort of like the end of COVID, I was staying with my parents and I got COVID. And when my fever kind of broke, my mom was like, this is a good time for you to clean everything out of your room so we can set it up for like all the grandkids. And so I was going through everything and found like some old journals I kept at a sports camp over a summer. It wasn't water polo, but it was like a different type of sports camp. And there was a thing that was called The Plague, a similar thing, and I had written all the scribbled like would you rathers and like things that people had said, and I sort of realized I could connect the world that I had explored in that short with some personal experiences, and then I started calling up friends of mine. I was asking them about their camp experiences and hearing some really insane things. Some of the Betty Boop type thing was based on a thing a friend told me, and so from there I kind of like collected this research and wrote the script.
When you made the short film Sauna, was that 2018? I know you graduated from AFI 2017.
Yeah, I think I finished it, I think at the end of 2017 I finished it.
Did you always know it would be a feature, or?
No, not at all, and people had asked if I had ideas to expand it for a while, and I really didn't until it kind of clicked with the journals.
Great. You assembled an incredible ensemble of young actors, and I wanted to ask you, how did you find your cast? And can you talk a little bit about the process? Did you have auditions? I know you found some of them on social media. We'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, we hired this casting director, Rebecca Deely. She's amazing, and she reached out to everyone, basically, in North America that she could possibly find. And the parents who were comfortable sending in, their children, which was already limited, a lot of people. Basically all of them she just sent to us. So we were looking at like thousands of tapes, and some of them, like Kenny who played Eli was like in the first 5 tapes that came through out of like thousands. Wow. And we were immediately cast him, basically. We were certain that he was the role. Other roles took, like hundreds of tapes, and they were really good actors, but it didn't feel true to the characters, and I had these really like particular ideas in my head. And so just sort of one by one we started, we would have everyone audition for one of the 3 sort of lead roles, but then we would sort of be like, oh, this, like with Lennox, we were like, oh, like you should read for Julian. And we'd start to have people come in and do different tapes. With KO, who plays Jake, I found him on Instagram on New York Nico's page, for those of you who know what that is.
That is the best page, New York Nico.
Yeah.
Instagram. I love it.
I mean, in KO, we go to a lot of like bagel shops and pizza places and kind of terrorize people a little bit. And he'll like put, trash cans on people's heads and run. And he went to like a Mike Tyson, Jake Paul fight and was sort of making fun of them, and went a little viral for that. And I was like, we have to bring, he'd never acted before. And his older sister's a pro skater. So through her, we were able to track him down and bring him in. And yeah, I mean, it was instantly clear, like he was exactly who we had imagined for the role, and
that's perfect casting. But I hope he was nicer than the Jake character, because I wanted to wring his neck.
He's very nice. He'll make fun of you.
That's
but
good to know.
He's nice. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask Lennox, actually, since we're talking about casting in the young ensemble. what did you think when you first read the script? How did you prepare for the role? Is there anything you can share with us?
I don't know. I'd say I was like, no, not confused. Like, I was really into the script because it was like really cool. I just had this like imagination. How do you say it?
Yeah, imagination.
Yeah, imagination about like how it was, how cool it would be to like act in, and like it was my first movie, so like I didn't know what I was expecting, but it was really cool when I saw it, and then like it turned out so much better than like I ever thought it would be, and I don't know. I was like, I got the call back. I was really excited. I got to meet the whole crew. It was really cool. Everyone was really nice, all inviting. I just felt like I was meant to be here, like in the movie.
Meant to be, yeah, absolutely. Great job. Your performance was so naturalistic. So very good job. Since we're on the subject of the cast, like, how did Joel Edgerton become involved? Did he help shape his character of the coach?
I guess it was like my agent sent it to Joel just because he thought that Joel would connect with the script, and Joel read it and just we got on Zoom right away, and he just said he would love to try to help get it made, and if there's anything that he could do to help. So he said he was generous enough to play a supporting role with a bunch of young actors and to be a producer on it, and just wanted to sort of like go out to financiers, and he was sort of like a mentor throughout the whole process. So
That's great.
It would never have happened without him. Yeah.
I also wanted to ask Charlie and Steven about your working relationship in terms of the photography and the visual look of the film that you wanted to create. Can you both talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Charlie and I met at AFI in film school, and we just kept working together. We've done a lot of shorts. This was both of our first feature. So there was a lot of like Charlie was just saying with Joel coming in, and there was fits and starts to the film getting put together, and we just had this like very prolonged prep time where we watched a lot of stuff. We just shared ideas and just built like a really strong foundation for what the language of the film was. One thing that I really appreciate about working with Charlie is like every project that we've done, we start from scratch with the visual language. And with this film, it was just so juicy. There was like so much to work with these feelings and this like time in a boy's life, and yeah.
Thank you. And I wanted to ask Johan Lenox about this incredibly haunting choral score. It is so wonderful. It's really like nothing I've heard before. It blew me away, and I wanted to ask you about how that came together.
Yeah, I think the sound world of it was the result of a few things. When I first read the script, definitely the sort of primal Lord of the Flies-ness of it was first probably the thing that came to mind. So, percussive chanting, I think, was always on the table as an option. But I think that combined with this is also my first time ever doing this, so I wanted to give myself and us like a long runway in terms of like, okay, we have this budget, like if we're doing an orchestra score and we do something and we don't like it, that's it. That's the budget, So I just like the voices in the score are all mine, except in one instance in one cue, where we have a small child in San Diego who recorded something nicely for us. But the rest of it, yeah, all the screaming and all the noises and stuff are me. And so what was nice about that was that like we could just, I could just wake up and get a text from Charlie that was like, I don't have enough like up tempo, stressful, like, this type of mood, whatever yet, like ideas. And he's editing with my music even before I've seen a cut. And so I could just wake up, go into my studio and just like make 3 ideas really fast and send it to him without having to spend any money, honestly, was a factor as well. So just that freedom and just allowing me to, just get as many ideas out and try as much stuff as possible, I think was a big part of it too.
Thank you. We'd love to open it up to the audience. So, yes, in the middle.
Just one quick question to the composer. I was just wondering whether Walter, Wendy, Carlos, so like this is the Shining, Stanley Kubrick, whether that was one of your influences at all.
Yeah, we love
Walter, Wendy, Carlos, the composer for The Shining. Was that
definitely
an influence?
Wendy, Carlos? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of influences, but I think. I tried to just, even when we would reference something, I'd really tried, I think, again, just because it was my own voice, to just, by limiting it to that, it was like no matter what I was trying to reference, it's coming out of my vocal cords, it's coming out of my production style, and hopefully I'd really try to keep it as unified as possible so that just the sound is just very consistent throughout, hopefully. But yeah, definitely, big fan.
Yes.
Or something that you wanted to fit in but couldn't?
Did anything end up on the cutting room floor that you wanted to include?
Definitely. I mean, there was a lot of time that there's a lot of scenes where just like all the boys are hanging out. Some of them scripted, some of them where we would just kind of like, because basically we had these very tight days, and Everett, who plays Ben, was in almost every scene, and he would rap. And we'd often stagger the call times, but we might have another hour with everyone else. And so we'd be like, well, let's just get everyone, hanging out and like riffing and talking about something. And there was some really like fun, vibrant, exciting footage there that I was trying really hard at times to sort of like keep in the cut, and just felt ultimately was like irresponsible to keep it for the story. But there's some really just great performance moments, and
Maybe we'll see them in a future Blu-ray.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah.
There was a question in the middle. Front row, yes.
I was wondering, you really do an interesting job of holding the tone of like a horror, but also comedy. It's a very funny movie. And I wondered during that process, how did you balance those two things?
How did you balance the horror and comedy?
I guess that I really was trying my best to approach it as like immersing people in the experience of being, a 13-year-old boy, where I think things are funny and horrific by the second as you're navigating a day. And so I thought if I just tried to think about what Ben was sort of experiencing, like moment by moment, it would guide the choices. And I tried my best to not think as much about, and like I love, there's a lot of horror films and comedies that are huge inspirations for this, and we'd try to watch double features that might be like, Carrie and Superbad, and so to try to always get one in a little bit of both was really important to us. But I think at the end of the day, the more I could put that to the side and just think about his sort of like psychological, subjective experience, the more that was able to guide the choices.
Great. Let's see, right here.
Hi, I'm an AFI alum, so it's amazing to see you here and such a beautiful film. We also work, my team does, with kids around that age, and so I'm curious how you approach directing that age group. I know that like in that age that kids tend to act really fast, and this film's quite slow in terms of these small moments and looks being such a big part of it. So I was curious how that influenced your work with the actors.
So the question is from another AFI alum who's asking about working with young cast. How did you sort of prepare them for the tone, the pacing? How did you work with your young actors?
I mean, and I'm sure Lennox, you could talk about it too. I think a big thing we would try to do at first is just like read the script, or have anyone who could just like read the script over and over again to just sort of like have everyone feel really familiar with the story in general. And I think it just came down to always just thinking about like, where are we coming from, and like what is the situation, and it just came from practice, and now we're here in the shower, and like he's being weird, and trying to just think of like all the different details. And I think I'd say like it's pretty scripted, and there's not a ton of improv in there, but we would do a ton of improv when we were shooting, sort of before and after, and sort of the scene would flow in there, and we kind of reset and go again without cutting sometimes. And I think we try to sort of settle into like a rhythm where when things start sort of like going on long enough, I think it stopped necessarily being fast or slow, and it just started, like there might be a moment where something completely different happened, but we got a really good reaction shot. And so it was a lot about trying to like build our reservoir of material and get a range of performances and have that option in the edit to shape it a little bit more.
Great. Yes, on the end.
I really love the film. That was really great, masterful in so many ways. And I do have one question, which is you chose to shoot on film, and I'm wondering if you've had any regrets about it. And one of the regrets would be like you felt you couldn't do enough takes. Did you feel like were you able to shoot as many takes as you wanted to, or was it possible?
So the question is about shooting on film. Did that limit sort of the amount of shots that you had? What was your experience working on film?
It definitely limited shots, and we would definitely roll out mid-take sometime when there was like a magical performance happening, but I don't have any regret. I would never do it differently. I don't know what you think, Steven, but...
Yeah, I think it gave a reverence to the moments when we were rolling, and it just put everybody in the zone to like focus. And I think that really helped with the group of boys, and everyone was just like, okay, we're doing it.
I find for myself when it's digital that I am looking really closely at the monitor and really thinking about every detail and get really fixated on it. And because it's sort of so low resolution, you can't really see what you're getting until it comes back. There's a sort of element of like letting go and just focusing on the performance and the blocking and what's happening, and not even looking at the monitor, just looking at the actors. And I think there's something that comes from that feels really alive that I think would maybe not have happened if we had shot digitally.
Thank you.
Yes, in the middle.
I know you said this was based on some of your own personal experiences, but it also kind of comes across as a little bit of a period piece now, since it's kind of before cell phones and social media. So I'm kind of curious if that was difficult to write, and then for Lennox, I'm also curious if it's difficult to kind of act that period now.
So the question is about, this was now a period film set in Y2K, 2003, I believe. Were there challenges in shooting it, over 20 years ago? So the question is both for Charlie and Lennox. What did you think about shooting a film from 20 years ago, before you were born, obviously, set 20 years ago?
20 years ago. Definitely not hard to write, because I'm old enough that isn't I was this age then. So it felt like the easiest year to write, because it was the only year I know what being 13 is like during. So I remember all the particular jokes and references that, and that a lot of people have asked like why I didn't set it contemporary, and I just didn't feel that I could like approach that as authentically. And it's really different, I think, in some ways, and maybe not that different in other ways. And it was, there were certain challenges. We shot in Romania, and certain things like finding Capri Sun and things like that were difficult, and we'd have to sort of have different producers fill suitcases and fly them over, and things from America that felt period authentic, but yeah.
I would say it wasn't hard to act, because like I feel like a lot of it was scripted, but also like we added improvisation to the script.
And there was like words that we sort of said you can't say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Low key. You can't say low key.
Like stuff like that, like fire, like none of that. Yeah, but there's a scene, a kid, he left his phone in his pocket, one of the extras, and he got a call from his dad. He answered it, and then since you can't have phones in like the scene, Joel Edgerton, it was the scene where he was scolding us for making fun of the boner. And so he grabbed the phone and just threw it out. And then, and like, we were all so, like, we were like, damn. 'Cause, like, we didn't know, like what was going to happen. Like, it was just funny. And, like, yeah, I don't know. It's just, like, everything was so fun. But to your question, I wouldn't say it was too hard to act, no. And, yeah.
Do you have an opinion on the Y2K era? Any thoughts about it? No, sorry, I put you on the spot.
What's that? Well, I don't even know what that is.
You're fine, I'll let you off the hook. Thank you, Lennox. Great answer. Yes, question right there.
Hi.
Yes.
We are both current second-year directors at AFI.
Yeah.
We're working on our thesis. She's on her 9th draft. I'm on my 8th, and we're getting constantly like, what are you trying to say? What is your film about? What do you've been through that, right? And my question is sort of a two-part question. Like, when you were writing this, did you know exactly what you were trying to say and what your film was about? Did that change throughout the process? And the second question is the last shot, the final moment of the film. Did you always know that was how the film was going to end?
I love these questions. Thank you. So the questions, if I can summarize them correctly, are from AFI alums or current MFA students? Second-year director students. Thank you. These are great questions. When you were writing it, did you know what the film was about, what you wanted to say? And the second question was about that just fantastic final scene. Did you know that would be the final scene? Really incredible. So did you know what you wanted to say initially when you started writing it, correct?
Not really, and not in any sort of like deep literary way at all. I think that I knew it was about like a water polo camp, and that there was the idea of the plague, and that there was this one character who was torn between like a desire to fit in with the group and kind of like a guilt around what the consequences of fitting in would mean and navigating that, and that it was going to be exploring kind of the sort of like triangle of these three characters. So that was sort of there from the beginning. I didn't really try to overanalyze sort of like the message or like themes. I tried to just kind of explore the characters and what I felt like how they would all react to the situation, and it kind of connected to the ending. I did not have that ending in mind, and there's a lot of other endings along the way, and I kept kind of starting over and writing it again until I kind of like naturally landed at this one, and it just felt the most accurate to just following where the characters were going. And it used to have kind of an epilogue, and you sort of checked in on what happened after camp, and I just felt like better to just I don't know, something felt right about it, just kind of ending where it was and leaving that hanging in the air.
Yeah, fantastic. One of the best endings I've seen. I think I'm getting the signal that we have time for one or two more questions, so yes.
I thought the underwater photography was so fantastic, like haunting, really incredible. I'm curious, when you went into it, was that it feels like a theme that ties together in all these transitional moments. I'm curious, did you start with when you think about it visually, did you start with these kind of images of like, flipping this kid upside down underwater, kind of like flipping the world on its head a little bit, and also executing that, especially on film? I mean, I'm sure there's probably some rigs that do that, but I was thinking about that. It's like, that's kind of crazy to shoot underwater photography and stuff in general, especially for, when you're making a feature. So I'm curious what that process was like.
Compliment about the underwater photography, and can you talk a little bit about the process?
Yeah, so, when Charlie told me that we were going to do a water polo movie, I had never really paid any attention to water polo in my life. And we were looking at some, footage of it, and it really doesn't look like much at the surface. And we were kind of like scratching our heads about how we were going to visualize it. And, the sort of the line in the scene where Jake is describing that all the the kids are biting their fingernails and scratching each other under the surface. We realize that all the violence is down there, and there's just something that's like so visceral and brutal, and kind of like to what Charlie was saying, like tracking along with the state of mind that Ben is in. That material, we were just, I think, emboldened to go very expressionistic and very just chaotic, and try and have it capture some of the feelings that could play against the more vulnerable moments above on the surface.
I think we have time for one final question. Yes, front.
Hi, thank you for the movie. I'm curious, given that it's a debut for both of you, Steven and Charlie, as a feature, if you could speak a little bit about the years leading up to this, and what was on your mind with respect to this film and with respect to filmmaking as you work toward this first feature.
Since this was a debut for both the writer-director Charlie and also the DP Steven, can you talk about the years leading up to it? What brought you to this? Talk about the process of making your first feature.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of writing script after script and trying to get anyone to read it and trying to find representation, and just, it was, like many years of feeling, like it was very hard to get any traction. And I mean, yeah, I wrote this script, and even then right away, there was a while before I could really do anything with it. And it kind of was like every now and then someone would read it and then maybe respond to it, but then they were like, this is going to be impossible to get financed. And there's a few times it almost happened, and then there was sort of the strike, and it died, and the company that was going to finance it went out of business, and then we kind of started over again, and it was just kind of like hanging in there long enough with it. I mean, I kind of never expected that it would happen for a long time, and then one day it was like, we're going in 2 months from now, get ready, and it just went from there.
And how did you end up shooting it in Romania?
There's a few, I mean, obviously there's just there's tax incentives, it was for budget reasons, but also the fact that it was really hard to find indoor pools in North America over the summer, because they all have summer programming, they're really intense about that, and we had to shoot in the summer for the hours with school and stuff being off. And so if it was in America, it was suddenly I made this list of all these pools in the world, but all the ones in France and Scotland were definitely out of reach budget-wise, and one of them was in Romania, and the Romanian team that used the pool was going to the Olympics this 2 summers ago, so it was available for 1 week, and we sort of built the shoot around this location, actually.
Great. Wonderful job. I wanted to add that congratulations. I know the film has been picked up for distribution. It will be released around Christmas time, Yes. So please tell your friends. Thank you to everyone for being here. Thank you so much.